各位媒体朋友
Friends from the media, good afternoon. Welcome to the press conference of the Joint Control and Prevention Mechanism of the State Council. The topic for today's press conference is how to stabilize the supply and ensure the prices, appropriate prices of the poultry products. We will have with us DG Peng Shaozhong and DG Cui Tianchao from NDRC, Deputy Director General Jiang Dayu from Ministry of Finance, and the Deputy Director General of Wei Hongyang from Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs. They will talk about the ensured supply of pork and also the various sideline agricultural products. Let me first give you the updates. Yesterday, China's mainland reported 34 confirmed cases. New fatal cases, 8, all in Wuhan, in Hubei. New suspected cases, 23. Yesterday's new cured and discharged cases, 819. Close contacts removed from medical observation, 1,032, and the severe case number dropped by 308. By the end of yesterday, China's mainland reported that there are confirmed cases remaining 7,263, including 2,314 severe cases. In accumulative terms, 70,420 cases have been cured and discharged from hospitals, 3,245 fatal cases, and 80,928 confirmed cases. Remaining suspected cases, 105. In accumulative terms, close contacts traced 683,281. Close contacts still under medical observation, 9,144. In Hubei, yesterday there's no new confirmed case and no increased suspected case and no remaining suspected cases. For cured and discharged cases, 795, including 733 in Wuhan. New fatal cases, 6 in Wuhan, and in total 8 in the province. The remaining confirmed cases, 6,992, including 6,744 in Wuhan. Among these confirmed cases remaining, the severe cases number 2,274, including 2,222 in Wuhan. In accumulative terms, 57,678 cases were cured and discharged from hospitals, including 40,765 in Wuhan. Fatal cases, 3,130, including 2,496 in Wuhan. For confirmed cases, 67,800, including 50,005 in Wuhan. Yesterday, between 0 and 24 o'clock, the new imported cases numbered 34, including 21 in Beijing, 9 in Guangdong, 2 in Shanghai, 1 in Heilongjiang, and 1 in Zhejiang. By the end of yesterday, in total, there have been 189 confirmed cases reported from the importation. From Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, there have been 307 cases reported, including 192 from Hong Kong SAR, 15 from Macau SAR, and 100 from the Taiwan region. Yesterday, for the first time, there has been no new confirmed domestic case. Outside Hubei, there's no new fatal case, and the severe case dropped by 2. For 7 years in a row, there has been no confirmed domestic case. For Hubei, outside Wuhan, there have been 14 days in a row without confirmed cases. Over the past 7 days, the imported case account for 84.55% of the newly increased cases. with the fast spread of the pandemic in the world, we need to focus on the prevention of the risk of importation. Now, we will have the Q&A. Please focus on today's topic and put up your questions. Please first identify yourself. Now the floor is open. First question, we have on the left, on the first row, the first lady reporter, please. Good afternoon. From China Daily. This question is for NDRC. Based on the statistics, the rise of CPR in February is driven by the increased price of pork. So what will be the future trend? We will have DG Peng to answer the question. Thank you for your question. The impact of pork price on CPR can be found in the February data. In February, the CPR grew by 5.2% year-on-year, and while the pork price has contributed 3.2 percentage points of the increase, representing 62% of the total increase. It is obvious that the pork price has a large impact on the CPR. Pork remains to be one of the most important meat products in the Chinese dietary pattern. So the price of pork is also an important price affecting people's livelihood and well-being. Over the past months, caused by the epidemic, the pork price is fluctuating, and we've made every effort to ensure the steady price. So the price has been reduced a little bit. According to our monitoring of the prices in the supermarkets across the cities, we can see that the average retail price by the end of yesterday has been dropped to a little bit over 32 RMB yuan per kilo. So the highest peak was 34 yuan RMB. So there was some drop for the moment, and in the near future, the production capacity of live pork is going to be increased, and the price of the meat will also be dropped. There has been adequate supply of the daily necessities, and the recovery of business performance is being achieved. So for CPI, we expect to see a fairly stable momentum. Okay, let's continue. On the right, the first row, the second lady reporter, please. Thank you. With CCTV, we noticed that recently NDRC and the Ministry of Agriculture jointly issued out a policy circular to guide the production of pork. Compared with the previous policy circulars, what are the differences or the highlights? Well, the private sector is a major stake to ensure the adequate and the stable supply of pork. The central government has been constantly supporting the production of pork, and for this new policy circular, this is indeed an encouraging policy measure in three aspects. The first one is the provide more support, like the financial support and infrastructure development support. And also, we encourage more lendings from the financial institutions to the pork producers. And for the conditions required to produce meat, we encourage the local governments to improve the existing arrangement and optimize the production environment.
Streamline management and correct wrong practices. Second, optimize the market environment for private business. Prevent the African swine flu. This carries great importance for the building of a healthy environment for swine production. Prohibit roadblocks. Ensure the smooth circulation, connect the supply with demand. Third, focus on the quality of development. The shift from the swine production to the processed development. Promote the processing industry development and optimize and diversify the supply chain. And down the road, we'll collaborate with the NDRC and other departments to further implement these policies. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the second row on the right side, please. With Phoenix TV. Because of the prevention and control of the epidemic, some of the markets have suspended their transaction of live poultry. So how their stopped business be revived? I'd like to ask DDG Peng to take the question. DDG Qiu to take the question. You may have already noticed that there has been the closure of live poultry transaction markets, damaging the supply of the poultry markets. On 12th of February, the Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism issued a document on accountability system of vegetable and other agricultural produce assurance. It was requested that localities should have tiered and contextualized approach in gradually opening the live poultry markets. Localities can adjust their policies by looking at their own conditions. For those with suspension of live poultry markets, there should be point-to-point efforts made to connect the supply and demand so that the poultry products have access to markets. As far as we know, in many provinces in southern China, in accordance with the differentiated management requirement, they have gradually opened the markets. Compared with the previous days, the situation has been alleviated. Well-conditioned localities where there is renewed management on poultry market, their direction of development is the scaling up of the production and the transaction, diversify the production of not only poultry products but also other vegetables to diversify the supply to the general public. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the right side in black. With economic daily news, the swine producers are faced with difficulties of funding shortage. Many big companies have cash running out. Premier Li Keqiang has emphasized that it is important to provide discount rate coverage for the swine producers. We know there are some temporary subsidies provided to these swine producers, and the threshold of eligibility has decreased to 500 slaughtered pigs. What were the reasons for the downgrading of the threshold? I'd like to ask DDG Jiang Daiyu from Ministry of Finance to take the question. Thank you for your question, and I thank you for your interest in the physical support provided to swine producers. In face of their shortage in funding, the Ministry of Finance has been implementing the central government's policies and adopted policies to facilitate the development of swine-producing farms with a low discount rate. In last May, we have already asked different departments and localities to contextualize their policies. The producers with 5,000 slaughtered pigs per year, subsidized loans can be provided to support the producers in buying feeds, and these can be used as their working capital. The discount rate is less than 2%. Later, in light of the needs of swine producers, in September, we collaborated with Ministry of Agriculture and further optimized the policies. The policy period was extended to the end of this year from the original end of July. We've also expanded the coverage of the favorable policies. In the past, that was used only as working capital. Now the subsidized loan can also be used for the construction of their farms. Altogether, the loans discounted with a discount rate has reached 444 million RMB. Recently, in response to the epidemic, because of the impact on the swine producers, in particular, to help the SMEs, we've collaborated with Ministry of Agriculture and the CBSRC and issued a provisional policy to lower the threshold of exercising subsidized loans from the original 5,000 slaughtered pigs per year to the current 500 slaughtered pigs per year. So for all those eligible can enjoy the loan with discount rate. According to initial statistics, across the country, farmers of the same size numbered 160,000. And the local governments will channel funds to these farmers. The actual distribution of the funds may be influenced by local conditions. So down the road, we will focus on the implementation of these provisional loans and make allocations where further loan support is needed from central government to enjoy the swine producers can enjoy the favorable loan policy. Next question, please. Journalist from the first row on the left side, please. With the Hong Kong China Review, we've noticed that impacted by the epidemic, there has been the stockpiling of poultry products. What were the measures adopted by Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs? Is the situation becoming better? Will there be knock-on effect in the next quarter? I'd like to ask DDG Wei Hongyang to take the question. Actually, DDG Qiu from NDRC has provided part of the answers to this question. I'd like to make some additional remark. The epidemic has exerted impact on livestock and the poultry industry, poultry in particular true. We've collaborated with the ministries and departments and adopted countermeasures. Local governments have been active in making joint efforts to focus on the feed supply. In the upper stream and in the lower stream, we helped the businesses to restart operation and ensure the connection of supply and demand between the poultry producers with the chicken cowling business. 80% of the business have resumed their operation. We are gradually opening the live poultry markets. We help the business with their cash insufficiency. Currently, we've found that the supply and demand are back to the normal track. In southern China, many live poultry markets are gradually opened. 80% of the processors have restarted their business. the stockpile issue has been addressed. The price of chicken and the price of eggs are stabilized. The poultry products prices are going back. Difficulties are behind us.
You may also be quite concerned, as the journalist has asked about the supply of the poultry products and the eggs. As you know, last year, the production was increased by 13.3%, and the egg production was increased by 5.8%. For the first 2 months of this year, we found the feed consumption has increased year on year with double digits. Yes, there's some problem with the slow to market, but I can assure you that the production has been kept at a high level. For the poultry products, we believe that they can continue last year's level, and if we have the conditions available, we may find the production higher than that of last year. Let's continue on the left, on the 5th row, the second journalist, please. Thank you. With the CNR, we found that the policy circular to support the private sector to cultivate pork and also other relevant agricultural products. So my question is, how much is the financial incentives to the major producers of pork, and what will be the focus of such subsidy? We will have Mr. Jiang to answer the question. Thank you for your question. To encourage the production and ensure the industrialization of pork production, in 2017, the central budget set up a financial incentive in this regard. And last year, in order to ensure the adequate supply and the stable price approved by the State Council, we increased the financial subsidy or financial initiative to 3 billion RMB yuan, and the financial incentive provided to the major counties of the pork production is also rising proportionately. These financial incentives will be allocated by the local government to the major producers. Let me give you some more details. The financial incentives will be used to import or introduce the good varieties and set up the necessary infrastructure for transportation and storage. Okay, let's continue. On the right, on the 5th row, the third gentleman reporter, please. With Shenzhen Satellite TV, my question is also about the price of pork. We noticed that February, the consumer price index was increased by 7%. So we can see that the price increase of pork has had a major impact on people's livelihood. So what are the measures adopted by the central government to ensure the stable price of the poultry products? We will have DG Peng to answer the question. Thank you for your question. So talking about the pork price increase and its impact on people's lives, actually, just like the pork, the poultry products are also important protein source for the people. So the fluctuation of the prices is of great concern to the people. The government has tried its best to adopt various measures to ensure the adequate and stable supply of such products. We have approached the issue from two aspects. The first is to increase supply, and the other is to ensure the steady pricing. As you may know, last year we used a lot of the Central Reserve pork, and this year, for 6 weeks in a row, we have provided more reserve pork to the market, and this week such initiative is going to be sustained, and we are making sure that the market is adequately supplied. And also we have provided the supply of poultry products to satisfy people's needs. Furthermore, to ensure that the market will not be mainly affected by the epidemic, we have made every effort to ensure the supply of the poultry products. So we've already planned for 20,000 tons of poultry products to the province, to Hubei province, the epicenter, and 2,000 tons have already been delivered. Food holds the key to a happy and healthy life. So this is something that we pay particular attention to. Also, we have closely followed the synergy and the price mechanism, and offered the pricing subsidies, especially to the poor households. This is conducted based on the minimum life allowances. And this is an extra subsidy provided by the central government in order to help them overcome the difficulties. And this year, during the Spring Festival, some localities with available conditions and capacities have increased their financial subsidy to the people. So in general, we can see that the supply is guaranteed and the people's daily lives are guaranteed. Okay, on the left, on the fourth row, the first reporter, please. Thank you. With CGTN, we noticed that on March the 12th and the 13th, the Ministry of Agriculture issued a release concerning the 2 African swine fever incidents in China. Could you please give us more details? We will have DG Wei to answer the question. Thank you for your concern about the major animal diseases. Last Thursday and Friday, in the pork or swines imported by Sichuan and Henan, there were such swine fever or swine flu incidences identified, and appropriate countermeasures have been adopted. These 3 incidences were caused by illegal and malpractices. The transportation has been found problematic with no license or permits. And this is also an online transaction. 2 of the incidences were actually sold online, and it was indeed a hidden crime. So we worked out an urgent policy notice to the relevant authorities and sent letters to the relevant authorities, urging them to pay particular attention to such risks.
In particular, we reminded some online violations. The farms, in particular the farms introducing piglets, should be put under close monitoring. In general, since the start of this year, the African swine flu intensity has decreased compared with that of last year. Till today, we've received 4 reports. 1 was wild pigs, 3 were related to domestic swine, and a total number of 324 pigs were included. During the same period of last year, we have slaughtered more than 100,000 pigs during the same period. So the situation is much better compared to that of last year. But as the transfer of piglets and pigs have been on the rise, recently there is a higher risk of swine flu or the sick pigs being transferred. So the Ministry of Agriculture will continue to step up our accountability system, focus on the implementation of existing effective measures, and ensure all the violations will be brought to justice so as to ensure the healthy development of the swine industry. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the second row on the left side. Thank you. With NTV. We know that the swine flu is a global headache and may bring about disastrous impact on the industry. With the occasional cropping up of the swine flu, what is the progress of swine flu vaccine development in China? I'd like to ask DDG Wei Hongyang to take the question. Well, this is a question of common concern by everyone, me included. We look forward to safe and reliable vaccine. However, vaccine is a very special commodity. Safety, efficacy, and quality controllability are the 3 requisites before it can be used. We also need sound data support. Therefore, on this issue, it's fair to say we, as you, are looking forward to the vaccine, but we cannot be too hasty. As you've mentioned, the vaccine research is a global headache. Up till now, there is no country in the world that has approved a commercially ready vaccine for swine flu. After the outbreak, we have been supporting eligible research institutes to accelerate research on swine flu vaccines. According to what we know, institutes are making headway. Some institutes or organizations have applied for clinical trial. We've received such application for clinical trials, and we are guiding experts to optimize clinical trial protocols to accelerate the preparation for clinical trial. But we should stick to 2 principles. First, high standards in safety, efficacy, and quality controllability. Second, efficiency in our review and approval. Thank you. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the second row on the right side, please. Thank you. With the Xinhua News Agency, I have a question on the assurance of stable supply of pork. What are the measures adopted by the Ministry of Finance? Thank you for your question. Since last year, In response to the influence from swine flu, Ministry of Finance has been following the deployment of the State Council and the Central Party Committee and adopted an array of effective measures since last September. We issued 6 measures online. Journalists are welcome to check these 6 measures online and continue your attention. These measures have been positive in getting the production back to normal level and ensured supply on the market. Recently, in response to the COVID-19 outbreak, there was some further influence on the pork supply. Ministry of Finance has adopted additional measures. I'd like to talk about 3 things. First, we focused on the implementation of existing policies. For example, we continued to implement subsidies, including the discount rate for loans and some temporary loans. We also on top of the long-term mechanism, we've also studied insurance mechanism. Meanwhile, we've increased the input for animal quarantine and focused on non-hazardous treatment of the dead pigs. We've also enhanced the loan support by minimizing the guarantee commissions. In 2020, the agricultural guarantee organizations have halved the guarantee commissions. Localities have adopted the fee reduction measures. We've also implemented the specialized earmarked relanding policies, in particular the relanding policies on the feeds and the seedlings or piglets. Besides, we focused on holistic support to epidemic hard-hit regions. When Ministry of Finance is arranging the transfer payment, there is favorable arrangements for the hard-hit regions. We will also ensure the localities will make their own stepped-up financial channeling as well. Down the road, we will follow the deployment of the State Council and the Central Party Committee, further implement the policy, support the Ministry of Agriculture and the RC and other departments to do a good job in accelerating the production and ensure market supply of pork. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the 3rd row on the right side. Thank you. With China reform net, I have a question on reserve frozen pork. We've noticed that recently there have been the distribution of pork from the reserve. We are also concerned, will these damp the enthusiasm of producers to expand their capacity? I'd like to ask DDG Peng Shaozong to take the question. Thank you for your interest in pricing work. In 2019, NDRC took the lead and made a preparation plan for the pork price adjustment. We've also been optimizing the plan to ensure the stable price of pork. Reserved frozen pork is a major way for the price adjustment. In its specific operation, NDRC collaborated with the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Agriculture, and Ministry of Commerce and established a working mechanism. Each time when we take a portion from the reserve, we make analysis in advance and we make analysis after the reserve has been channeled. In general, the approach has been very effective and has been a great leverage. Starting from the first half of last year, when prior to a surge in pork price, we initiated the collection of pork so that we have the reserve, we don't have to worry. And after our collection, during the rapid surging period, at some important timing, for example, the Mid-Autumn Festival and National Holiday, a New Year time, and the Spring Festival. Till now, at these important timings, we focused on the distribution of the reserved pork to the market to adjust the price on the market. So with these measures, the prices were kept stable. In the past month, the price was in a high range, but has been on a consecutive decline.
As we have already mentioned, this month the price reduction was above 7%. In terms of the cities, in mid-February, in some cities, the price of pork was once 40 RMB yuan per 500 gram. And then these cities have increased the supply to the market with reserved pork. So up to now, only a couple of cities still have their pork price at about 76 or 78 RMB yuan per kilo, while the other cities have all kept their pork price below 70 RMB yuan per kilo. With the current improvement, we will continue to follow the previous principle and enlarge the supply with reserved pork. As for whether such supply may affect the producers, let me give you a concept. That is the proportion between the pork price and the feeder price. On average, the cost of the pork per kilo is about 4 to 6 times of that of the feed. So when the price ratio is 6 to 1, that means this is a balance. The current ratio is now 18 to 1. That means it's much higher than the break-even point. So we can see that there's a lot to be done. The pork producers at the moment are eager to expand their production, especially the major producers with available or with sound bio conditions. And together with the relevant government agencies, we've worked out some policy plans, and the localities are going to implement such plans. So the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Finance have both mentioned such policy incentives. Okay, let's continue. On the right, on the fourth row, the first gentleman, please. Thank you. With CNR, as the supply chain of poultry products is fairly long, it takes some time to recover the production. Then how about the work resumption rate in the poultry industry? Thank you for your question. We will have Ms. DG Wei to answer the question. Yes, indeed. In the poultry supply chain, we may find 3 major kinds of enterprises: the producer, the veterinary, and the feeder producer. All of them have been affected by the pandemic. However, with sustained efforts, together with the improving situation, now for these enterprises, their production has been back to normal. By March the 16th, for feeder businesses, the resumption rate is 87%. The top 100 feeder companies have had their resumption rate as high as 99%. The production of feeder year-on-year is 2% higher than that of last year. So it is fair to say that the feeder production can satisfy the needs. In terms of the veterinary or animal drugs, we can see the resumption rate is about 96% for highly pathogenic H1N1 or avian flu, as well as other animal disease vaccines. We can see that the current production can satisfy the needs of various chickens, pigs, and cattle. So this is adequate. And as for the culling or slaughtering, now we have more than 5,000 slaughtering enterprises, and the work resumption rate is about 87%. And for the major slaughters, the resumption rate is over 90%. And the medium ones have had their work resumption rate as 83%. I think it is fair to say that the supply is adequately guaranteed. Okay, on the left, on the third row, the gentleman, please. Thank you. With Economic Herald, in light of the overall situation, we should not be optimistic about the pork supply. So what are the specific measures to encourage the supply of pork? We will have E.G. Chu to answer the question. Thank you for your question. Just now, there have been explanation from the financial policy perspective. And at the central government, we have used our function as the development and planning agency, provided various policy incentives. Yes, we acknowledge the reduction in terms of pork production because of the epidemic, but the situation is improving, and you have to be aware that it takes time to recover the production. For NDRC, we will focus on the following 4 aspects. The first is to expand the production of the live pigs. By the end of 2020, the pig farm infrastructure development will be subsidized as appropriate. So last year, the central budget has already made 300 million fund available for such initiative, and this year we are going to increase such budget funding. And the second is based on existing practices for major producers of pigs. They will be further subsidized to reduce the cost and encourage their production. Secondly, just as previous speaker have mentioned, the pork production has been encouraged to grow by 12%, and this has contributed to the supply. And this year, due to the pandemic and also the closure of the wet markets, we have already made every effort to encourage the adequate supply of the products. And also for relevant businesses, they will be included in the preferential list to receive funding support and financial subsidies. Recently, we are working on the sector, and very quickly you will find that together with the Ministry of Agriculture, we will specify the specific policy measures to encourage the production.
Fourth, strengthen the development of the seedling system, improve the modernization of the industry, improve the epidemic monitoring over swine flus, and set up a pre-alarming system. So these are our policy preparations. Thank you. In the interest of time, we can take two last questions. Journalist from the third row on the left side, please. Thank you. With Economic Daily. My question is, many pig producers want to know if they can be covered by insurance for their losses. What is the claim settlement? What are the measures adopted by Ministry of Finance to support the claim settlement by pig producers? What are other financial measures to support the pig production? I'd like to ask DDG Jiang to take the question. Thank you for your question. I'd like to briefly share with you Ministry of Finance's measures to stabilize the market and support the producers. For more detailed information, you are welcome to visit our website. In recent years, the Ministry of Finance has been supporting the financial institutions to further support the pork producers, in particular, enhance the insurance coverage, reduce the producers' risks, improve their enthusiasm. In 2019, Central Finance has an expenditure of insurance coverage 2 billion RMB. And this covers 412 million pigs with a total insurance size of 13 billion RMB. 7.9 million rural households have got the claim. The claim settlement ratio was 127%, which was the ratio of payment to insurance income over a certain period. For the future, we will, on top of the long-term standing mechanism, we will focus on 4 areas. First, we will further support pig production insurance, encourage localities to improve the insurance value and coverage. The central government will have a real-time settlement of the insurance claims. Second, innovate the insurance models, explore the patents of agricultural farming households with companies, connect individual producers with bigger companies so as to expand the scale and enhance individual households' capacity in risk response. Third, commercial banks also encouraged to explore financial services where the bigger producers can collaborate with the smaller producers. The commercial banks are encouraged to provide loans to bigger producers, and the bigger producers can provide guarantees so that smaller producers can get loans. Policy banks within their business scope can collaborate with the government funds to reduce to lower the threshold of loans, so that production, slaughtering, and processing and cold chain development of the pork industry can get financial support when they need it. Thank you. Last question, journalist from the second row on the left side. From Farmers Daily, media reports have it that the risk of the epidemic on pork production is abating. What is the current status? Will our annual target of pork production be reached? I'd like to ask DDG Wei Hongya to take the question. Thank you for your question. As you have mentioned, the impact of epidemic on pork production is abating. Previously, there were issues that piglets were of a much smaller number. Feeds could not go where needed. Situations like this have already been improved. The other two Director Generals have shared with us the supportive policies adopted since last year. Policies are taking effect, and we are seeing the positive outcomes. So the good trend of further development of the pork industry is already showing. This year, the stockpile of live pigs has seen a worldwide increase of 1.7%. The production of piglets have seen a worldwide increase of over 30%, which has been the first time in the past several years. Usually during this period in February, there has been some decrease of the production of pigs. However, for this year, there has been an increase, 22.8%. This has been quite unusual. In southern China, there has been some sharp decrease in the previous months. In February, the production of pigs have seen some increase. So these has been very positive signals. Seeing these positive signals have reboosted our confidence of realizing the annual target. As an authority in charge of the swine and pig production, we will collaborate with other departments by using the field monitoring and survey and quarterly inspection to ensure accountability system can be implemented. The new projects and the upgraded projects should be put under supervision to ensure their smooth running so that the good momentum can be kept. We know that it takes cycles for the piglets to be grown pigs, but we believe these new capacities will soon be turned into the actual supply of pork to the public. Thank you. Tomorrow we will talk about precise prevention control, scientific medical management, and the gradual restoration of the medical treatment orders. We'd like to have officials from National Health Commission to take your questions. We look forward to your continuous attention. We welcome you to forward your questions. Thank you.